Yo, 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 what it do, what it do? It's your boy Yellow Report, and today I am here with Miss Victoria. Miss Victoria is a helping high achieving leader and definitely finds ways to balance success and happiness. We are going to learn so much more about what Miss Victoria does. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Miss Victoria to YTP Entertainment. Thank you so much. Please let the audience know what you do.
Thank you very much, Yellow, for having me. I'm really happy to be here. So, as you said, as you mentioned, I'm Victoria Mensch, and my background is really diverse in terms of what I did and how I came about to do what I'm doing right now. I spent most of my career in Silicon Valley in high tech industry, 25 plus years. I worked in large global corporations. I worked in smaller companies. I worked in startups. I had my own consulting company in different roles and management positions, what have you. But I started my career as a psychologist, actually. So right off college, right off of the high school, I wanted to be a psychologist. So I went ahead and I got a degree. I got a degree in psychology. I got a PhD in psychology. And then I started working with people and I thought, I think I made a mistake. So I followed my passion and then I got so tired and so disillusioned and decided that this is not a career for me. So I actually pivoted into a corporate career. And that's what I've been doing for the last 25 years or so. But now recently, I realized that that was actually what we now know is a burnout. And I went through a couple of cycles of those in my career, always resulted in some kind of changes. Some of those dramatic changes, I would, change a career, or I would change a place, or I would change the surroundings, or I would change a company. And now I realize that there's so many people who are actually in the midst of a burnout. So we're so much aware of this condition now, especially in Silicon Valley, but all over the world as well. Um, now we recognize it, which is good, right? So once you recognize it, you put a label in it. Now you know how what you're dealing with.
Yes,
So
indeed.
I'm exactly. So I'm kind of since I went through several cycles, so I learned so much about it, how to prevent the burnout, how to go through the burnout, how to build a life of harmony, the way I call it. So I want to share my experience with other people, and that's why I'm doing this podcast interview. But I'm also doing mentorship and retreats and working with people and kind of speakership, all that, really basically to talk about the burnout and that you can manage it and you can actually get out of it sustainably. It doesn't have to be a dramatic change in your life. Sometimes it is necessary, but most of the time, it really doesn't have to be, disruptive. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It's usually not about the job. So you can do it sustainably. You can do it productively. So that's basically the gist of it.
That is awesome. That is awesome. You definitely have worn many hats and you're still wearing many hats now. That is amazing. It's amazing. It's always a good thing to see when people have done things that have been productive in their lives and also have been able to overcome different adversities and things of that nature. So that is a true blessing. I'm loving this, definitely. And we don't give enough credit, in my opinion, to the women who have overcome so many obstacles in their lives. And when I get a chance to talk to a woman on my podcast, I'm super happy because you all shape the world. I mean, a lot of people don't see it that way, and I don't care how they see it. The truth is, women shape the world. And if it wasn't for you all, this world would not be where it is today. That
Oh, so nice to hear, Yellow. Thank you.
is the truth. They're
Well,
like,
in fairness, I do agree that women, especially right now, in our day and age, are under a lot of pressure, right? So, how do I say it? So, like, it's not you're never enough. That's the pressure. Like, you're never enough, right? So, if you're building a career, then like, oh, I'm abandoning my family. Or if you're focusing on the family, oh, I'm abandoning my career. So it's never enough. So we kind of, as a default, we expect that. women work as if they don't have a family responsibility and kids and so on and so forth. And then from a woman who is the mother and has the family responsibility, we expect, that she would behave as if she didn't have a career. So then there are so many women that are under pressure. If you devote myself to one side or another, then I'm losing something. I'm not enough. So there's a lot of pressure even in that sense. There are obviously other obstacles to overcome, but even that one, I believe it's a big quite a big source of stress and frustration.
Totally agree with you. And to add to what you're saying, I also feel like that this world is, I mean, especially here in the United States, it's time for a change. We've had so many males being leaders for the country, and now we have the opportunity to have Kamala Harris as a future leader for this country. I feel like the time has definitely changed, but it's also time to have this type of change. Let's see what a woman will do for this country. Let's see how a woman can actually make a difference, especially someone who's already credible. This woman is
Hmm. Hmm.
incredible. She has what it takes to run this country. She has the accolades. She has the background. She has all these things that tie in to her being the perfect vessel to run this country and to be the voice for this country. And not only that, to be the voice for so many more women in the world.
Hmm.
I am totally.
Well, definitely historic moment, that's for sure.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I hope she wins. I want her to. I mean, again, how do we know what she can and cannot do if she's not in a position to do it and show us what she can and cannot do?
Right, right. That's true. Hmm.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, right. In that sense, I think that it is unprecedented time, of equal opportunities, right? So it's good that anyone has opportunities. So,
Mhm. And I also feel like that this would definitely uh, pave the way for more women to step up and
hmm.
the same role as she is. I just feel like
Hmm.
we're ready. We need this change, and we're most so. To get back to Miss Victoria, you were so I was looking at your profile and it talked about when you were just talking about the constant going, constant having to, when you change from one thing to the other, constantly doing different things in your life, being fulfilled with so many different jobs, so many different opportunities that don't allow you to always just be yourself. What has put you in a position now to where you can actually change that?
Well, it is a journey. So that's what I really like to emphasize, right? So a lot of us, there's this myth, which I think is a responsibility for us as speakers, as kind of those who are getting the word out, is the myth is for us to dispel. And the myth is that achievement will bring you happiness, right? So once you achieve this, and that, whatever that milestone is, and the society actually tells you what those milestones are. It's you get a good you get good grades, and you get into good college, and then you get a good family, a good job, a good career, a good car, a good house, whatever that is, right? So and we're under this myth that once we get there, then we can be happy. So I think that's really a myth that is worth dispelling because it turns out, and the research actually supports this now, is that uh, it's not that. So actually, not so successful people become happy because of that success. Is a happiness really is almost a predictor of a success. It turns out that happy people are more successful. So that's one that's one point. The other point is that happiness is really a practice. So at the end of the day, it's almost like you make a decision to be happy and you practice that state of mind. So I think that's very important to realize that that's why we live in the world that's from a material point of view, as comfortable as ever, right? So as technologically advanced as ever. And yet there is so much depression, there's so much negativity in the world. So that's really a kind of a canary in the mine, so to speak, that it is a signal that there is something that achievement is not it. Just achievement by itself, a success by itself is not enough. It really has to come with the practice of your internal mindset. So that happiness, that mindset that you can develop internally. And what the good thing is that it's really within your control. So no matter what is coming at you from the outside, no matter what kind of disturbances, what kind of disruptions are coming from outside, you have your core, you have your calm, you have your center that you can come back to, and that center, that set point, that kind of your ground zero can be
Yeah.
uh happy one.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, in your journey, what are some of the trials and tribulations that you've gone through that gave you the idea to say, look, I'm gonna just go ahead and be a well-educated woman and start my own business and things of that nature. What gave you that idea? What gave you that push to say, hey, this is what I'm gonna do with my life?
Yeah, so for me, I like to talk about the burnout because, in a lot of sense, yes, there are some steps that you can take, and I talk about kind of first aid of burnout when it's really just about stress management, right? So you feel what is burnout? How does it feel? It feels like exhaustion. You're exhausted, first of all the time. You're exhausted. You're unmotivated. There's a lot of skepticism, negativity. There's some other kind of symptoms, on the behavioral side, like you are either loss of appetite or you're hungry all the time, you lose sleep or you're sleepy all the time, things like that, whatever your stress response is. So you can take care of the stress management. It helps you in the moment and provides kind of a relief. But then that negativity, that unsatisfaction, that frustration, still comes back, and that's when you realize it's not really about those external circumstances. It's really something internally that you can bring about. So it took me a few iterations of changing the external circumstances to realize that, like, oh, okay, it wasn't about the job. It wasn't, when I switched from my psychology career into the corporate world, it wasn't really about the job because psychology is my passion. I'm coming back to that psychology right now. It was really about how I approached that and the lack of boundaries and so on and so forth. So, but having said that, and answering your question, those points of the burnout, right? So when you feel that, there was a point where it's like, I cannot take one more day of that job. I'm going to really just quit. I really need to remove myself out of the situation. So it's kind of out of despair, more or less, right? So you take yourself out of the situation and think, okay, what's next? And then you try something new. All I'm trying to say is that, yes, that's one way to do that. The other way to do that is really to make it a much more controlled decision, right? So it wasn't like in my case with the psychology, it wasn't really about the psychology. It wasn't really that I did not like to talk to people. It was really lack of boundaries that I set in my desire to serve. And it happens a lot in those service professions, my desire to serve and to help. I really did not set those boundaries for myself where I could protect myself from the negativity, from taking on, all that from other people. And that actually happens a lot in the corporate world as well, especially it's equal for men and for women. For women, it may be a little bit more prolific just because there are more distractions, right? So there are many more expectations from different areas of life.
Yes.
Um, Yes. So it's the same way, if you don't actually learn how to set those boundaries, if you don't learn how to relinquish unnecessary control, then just taking yourself out of one situation and putting yourself in another situation is not going to help sustainably, right? So all those qualities that help you to get where you are, and a lot of those are really good qualities, like a desire to serve, right? That's a really good quality. What's not like this. People that are good in those service professions or perfectionism. That's something that actually got you where you are, that got you the best grades, that got you those promotions. These are the qualities that serve their purpose, and now they just need to be tweaked, and rethought and refocused, into providing a much healthier mindset and much healthier approach to where you are, to yourself, to your job, and to all other areas of life that actually comprise that sense of harmony and fulfillment.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I can totally relate to a lot of the things that you're saying, and that's mostly due to the fact that I've had to go through a lot of ups and downs, trials and tribulations, and just like you said, the burnout. I mean, that period, that moment of going through that burnout is one of the most serious times frames that you can actually go through ever. And I say that because those are the times when you start to either get consumed by everything that you're going through, or you start to get to this point where, okay, look, I have to figure out something different because this is just not working for me. So I really have to figure out another way to go. And then you start to try all these different things. And that continues to add to the burnout until you finally find your niche and you're like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I finally that sense of relief.
Right, right. Yes, exactly. So in a sense, right? So if you look at again, at bottom line is that what burnout is accumulating like a chronic stress reaction. And what is stress? Yes, the chronic stress, that's what it is. And if you look at the stress reaction, what stress is actually, it's a survival mechanism, right? So like it started good. That's why we survived as a species. That's why we're alive. That's why we're talking, living all of that. The problem is that now it's really how do I say blown out of proportion. Right? So we don't really have those threats to so many of those like life-threatening situations for our physiological system to react this way. So we assign those threats to other things that we can control, things that are relevant or not relevant. There are a lot of people who are stressed because there's some, I don't know, wildfire somewhere in Australia, right? So you're sitting in the US and there are wildfires in Australia and you feel worried, right? So you feel threat. So like your survival mechanism is just going out of proportion. Sometimes I joke with people who I work with my clients, sometimes I joke that if you are in anxiety, if you're in a burnout, it means that you're a really good survivor. Like your survival nervous system is just woo, it's just going. The key is to learn to control it, right? So to learn to talk to it. And that's the system that doesn't really understand words. That's the problem. It's just, it just turns on its own. By its own cognition, totally subconsciously or unconsciously, it just keeps us safe. That way it is, and we need to learn how to talk to it. And we talk to it through breathing. We talk to it through images like visualization. That's why it's important. We talk to it through our muscular reactions, through actions. And it's not like, well, come down, it's not a problem. Yeah, there's a problem in Australia, but it's not really a threat to you. Unfortunately, our system does not understand that, right? So it understands some other ways. So like you start taking control over your own reactions, right? Even on physiological level, you actually get in tuned with your body. So you understand what's going on. You can attune your body and you learn how to regulate this as a first step. But the
Yeah.
same way you actually regulate your mindset, the way you relate to things out there. So I read a quote just recently that really touched me very deeply. It was attributed to Viktor Frankl. I don't know whether it's true or not, but it was something that there is a space. between the stimulus from the outside world and our reaction. And in that space lies your freedom. So
Yes.
when you, yes, isn't it fantastic, right? So that's the space where you are in control, you're in power. So all this work with burnout, how to get out of burnout, how to get out of the state of negativity and everything, it's really happening in that space, being able to put yourself in that space, actually take a breath, right? And make a conscious reaction. So that's I think it's very it's really powerful, right? So the powerful part is there is once you take responsibility of what's going on around you, once it's like, okay, somebody cut me onto the highway, there is nothing I can do about that, right? So maybe he's a bad person, maybe he's a good person, maybe something happened, who knows? What I can take control of is my reaction to this, right? So how am I going to relate to that? What am I going to do there? So that's where my power is. And once I understand how to control those reactions, that I can choose how to react. That's when you become actually a creator of your reality, right? So that's when it's like you let it go. That person goes away. I'm alive. I'm safe. I just go on, on my own path. I created my reality. I didn't let it to create. I did not become a victim of this reality. I created this, and that's kind of the work that keeps me going on this path. Really understanding that and mentoring other people to be in that state as well. And it's
That
a journey. It's a practice, as I said. It's an everyday practice. I don't think it actually ends like one day. It's like, oh, now I'm a creator. No, you continue practicing it.
See, and I think that because the way that I see it is it's not that it's actually going to ever end. What's going to happen is you reach a milestone, and once you reach that milestone, you learn how to deal with that, and then you continue to grow from that milestone. Then you reach another milestone, you learn how to deal with that one, and then you continue to grow from that one. So it's just constant growth is what I see.
Right. Right. And I think, and that's very important to continue dreaming, right? So one of the exercises that I did for myself and I advise other people to do as well, is to have a list of, dreams, your desires. You just build a list of 100. Well, try and do that. That's a very empowering on its own because it's actually not that easy to put a list of 100 things that you really want.
That's true.
And those can be absolutely outrageous. Like I want to go to Venus, or Mars one day. It could be totally outrageous. And just putting them on paper, just giving them a chance to be there. You kind of open up so many opportunities for yourself. It could be, well, I don't know, 5 different villas in different parts of the world. So I never need to rent another hotel in my life. I can go home anywhere in the world, whatever that is. Or I can only fly, private planes. Or it could be, oh, I lost track of my friends, my college friends, and I want to find them at some point. It could be whatever it is, but you put 100 of those, and it really gives you that drive to move forward. So you don't need to question how am I going to do it. No, just being able to put it on paper, just giving them just giving them live this way, right? So that will create a very interesting kind of wave of energy for yourself and hope and enthusiasm and motivation. So you don't need to settle. It's like, okay, it is as good as it gets. You put it there and you can just live it as a dream. So I
Hmm.
can share, for example, my experience. I did this exercise, what was it, about a year and a half ago, and it took me a week to put a list. Like, it's like, and then I look, well, some of those just keep repeating, but well, I guess I really want that thing. So I have like 5, lines, something around flying business class or something. Oh, I guess I really want to fly business class, um, which is totally artificial, right? But it doesn't matter. But the thing is that a year and a half later, and I put it away. I just, left it. It's not like this is not an action plan. It's really dreaming. You're just like, oh, this is my time to dream, right? So I put it away, and a year and a half later, I take it out and I look through the list, and What do you think? 25% is done.
Wow. That's awesome. That is awesome.
So that's really nice, right?
Yes, yes, always, always really nice.
So that's, that's something, when we talk about how you got somewhere, you get somewhere somehow. Um, but it's important to at least leave a possibility of that. So you don't shoot your dream, before it has a chance. Put it on the list of paper. Maybe that's what means outrageous. It's completely, unrealistic. Doesn't matter. Just, remove your judgment, postpone your judgment to later. Just dream, give yourself an hour, 2 hours, 20 minutes,
Yes,
for the next 5 days, and just put a list of 100.
yes, indeed. Be up for change. It's one of the things that was a challenge, and I kind of talk about this when I'm doing relationship coaching, is a lot of times people don't realize that when we come into this world, we're already being programmed to be something that of someone else's idea of
Hmm.
what we should do, what we should not do, and things of that nature. So I encourage people to do a self-preservation exercise to actually get to know who you are, what your real dislikes are, what your real likes are, versus what someone has told you pretty much throughout your life, what you should like and what you should not like. Once you
Hmm.
wake up and come into this reality of, wow, I didn't even know I like this. I didn't even know I like that. And then you start to see yourself make more progress because now you're not living off of everything that was taught to you in the past. You still hold
Right.
to those things because you need to learn from the things that you were learning, but now you're starting to see who you really are, what you are,
Right.
steps you need
Right.
to be a better you, in order what steps you need to take in order to be an asset to society. You learning all these things now, and that at that point of growth in your life, that's when you start to take off and elevate. But a lot of people who are not doing these things, they tend to still live off of what they were taught instead of living off of who you really are.
Yes. And that is a road to burnout, right? So when you're fulfilling somebody else's expectations and somebody else's milestones, and you don't do it on purpose. Like, I mean, my parents gave some of them to me, their parents gave some of them to me. The society was all the expectations, and you kind of go the way. And I think why it's, I'm talking about high achievers a lot. It's just, well, I did everything that was expected from me, right? So that's how I felt. Like everything that expected from me, I did. How come I still feel this way? How come, like, is this really it, right? So how come I'm still not happy? How come I'm still negative? And I think the saddest part is that when, yes, burnout is very acute, like you cannot ignore it. But there is this, kind of state in between. So you're not quite unhappy, right? But you're not really happy. You're just there. You're just going through the motion, right? You're just going through the routine, and it's not enough for you to change anything, and you're just like, okay, this is as good as it gets, that's fine. So I think that's really the saddest part, that it's very hard to be aware of that, because I mean, there's nothing wrong, so many people around me lives this way, right? So that's, I think, one of the things that I want to change as well, that with all these dreams we just talked about, it doesn't have to be this way, right? So it can be ecstatic. It can be, the life that you love, right? Like, don't put that dream away. Don't just say, oh, I don't know anyone who lives this way, right? No, there's lots of people who live this way. So just don't settle, keep going.
Settling can really be a hard road to follow because it's almost like giving up at that point when you settle. And it's like, even if you're not giving up for the full term, you still gave up just for that little moment. And then you start to realize, okay, no, this is not exactly where I want to be. So now let me push for something else. And just like you stated with the whole burnout, it's hard. So with that, Tell us what techniques that you would use to converting stress into success.
Yeah, so I have a few tips for people when we start working with this because it's a big task, right? So you're kind of um you're in burnout, right? So there's you already feel overwhelmed, you already feel that you're out of control. So it's not really realistic to say, well, now I'm going to find my purpose. No, you do it step by step, right? So you're reclaiming your power, you're reclaiming your authentic self step by step. So stress management techniques is the first one. So I think everybody has to manage that. We live in a world that the disruption is going on all the time. It's getting faster and faster and faster. It's not going to change. It's only going to get faster and more disruption. So stress management techniques, like everybody has to master that. Everybody has to master your breathing, your activities, your visualization, your meditation, what have you. Um, just for the health of your mental system. So to be able to switch from fight or flight to rest and digest, which is a much more normal and natural way for us to live. So like 99% of the time has to be spent in rest and digest mode, not in fight or flight, trying to survive mode. But then we start talking about, so how do I make sustainable changes in my life beyond just being able to breathe calmly and so on and so forth. And there are a few that I really like to talk about. One of those is self-care. What is the self-care? Self-care is really carving out space in your life, in your day, to do activities that you like for
Mhm.
nothing else but because you like doing them. There is no other reason, not because somebody asked you, not because you should, not because it's useful, not because, it saves you money or time or what have you, just because you enjoy them. And how do you do that? Again, I love the list. You put a list of 20 of those. And I challenge anyone to do it right now. And I almost guarantee that you won't be able to complete this in one take. It took me 2 weeks. 2 weeks
Okay.
because I was like, I don't even remember what it is that I like. I'm doing everything that everybody is telling me what I should do. I have
Right.
no idea anymore what it is that I like to do, what it is that brings me joy, and what it is that brings me this happy feeling. So, and
Yes.
then it's like, well, what was it that I liked when I was 7 years old? What it is that I liked before I got this promotion? What is it I liked before I had kids? So you reclaim yourself, right? So that's what it is. And then once you have the list, and it could be very small things. It can be like I really like to have 5 minutes in the morning to read newspapers. I don't know if anybody reads newspapers now, but whatever that is, right? Or mine was I have this ritual that I want to make myself coffee and I want to drink that coffee uninterrupted. So, so you have, yes, and then you can put other things like, oh, I remember I really like to play tennis. Okay. I don't know how it can happen now. That's not the point, don't ask how, just put it on the list. But then the task is to schedule 3 of those in a day. So every day you have to do 3 of those from a list and you put them on a calendar. And you're like me, if it's not in the calendar, it doesn't exist. I live and die by my calendar. So, the way to do it, you put them on the calendar. And what I like about this approach, that it's totally behavioral, right? So you don't need to question why, you don't need to question how. You just do it. Put it in the calendar and do it as the time comes.
Yes.
But then 3 days later, that's telling me you do it for 3 days. Well, okay, let's do it for 5 days and then check with yourself. How do you feel?
Mhm.
And I guarantee that you will feel better. So what it does, it really puts priority on yourself, priority on your happiness. So you give permission to yourself to feel happy and say, that's important, right? So you tell yourself that it's important. My happiness is important. My joy is important. As important as that email that I need to return, or as important as that meeting that I need to attend. In fact, it's even more important. and you feel you replenish your energy this way. So because these are the activities that actually give you energy, right? So they energize you instead of draining your energy, they actually add energy to you. So you are becoming a much more better, much pleasant person to be around. I can tell you than that. So what I notice, it's such a habit of mine nowadays that if I feel frustrated, if somebody crossed me or I feel annoyed by someone, my first question is not what's wrong with that person. My first question is, how is my self-care? Did I actually replenish my energy? And in 90%, 9 out of 10 cases, I actually did not. So it's my reaction because I did not act from the best place from that energetic kind of positive place because I did not have that energy. I did not replenish my energy. I did not fill my cup or whatever that is. So that's very important and it's very powerful. And the good thing is that it's entirely in your control, entirely.
Yes, indeed. This part of
Yeah.
the topic actually reminds me of a lot of times when I used to hear some of my, the elders, the males would ask, "Why are you doing that?" And the ladies say, "Because I want to. This what I
Yeah.
feel for me.
Yeah.
I don't have
Exactly.
reason. I don't have to have excuses." And I just like, okay, hey.
Yes, exactly. So it is important to ask, what do I want, right? So what do I want? And it's especially in the relationship, it's better to ask that question earlier rather than later when everything is just so complicated. What do I want? I want to do what I want, right?
I'm
Do
so
it a little bit every day, a little bit every day. And then you expand from there. Like you create space from there. It's like, oh my God, I'm actually becoming a more productive person. I'm a happier person. People around me are happier, right? So I want to do more of that. And it's not impacting your productivity. It's not impacting whatever. It does not put pressure on your time anymore. You're just making different choices and different priorities, and it helps you along the way.
yes, indeed. And to add something to what you just said, because that was so powerful. I really love that. I always teach the males because they seem to have a problem with this. And I tell them, I say, look, when your significant other, your wife, girlfriend, whomever she is to you, gets angry with you, instead of arguing back at her, listen to what she's saying to you. Pay attention to exactly what she is saying to you, detail for detail, because 9 out of 10 times she's really telling you how to solve the problem that made her angry in the first place. And when she's done, ask her what was the trigger. Instead of you getting angry and lashing back out at her, turn it into a conversation, turn it into a way of finding out how you can understand her better than
Hmm.
to an argument. Because if
Hmm.
I guarantee you,
Hmm.
most of the relationships that most women have, when if I was to ask you, so what triggered you? And I don't mean to be condescending, but what I do mean to do is to understand you better and to help us grow in our relationship. If a guy was to ever say that to you, how would it feel?
What is it? What is it they say? They say you can either be right or have peace. You can't be both, right? So if you're right, then another person is wrong, and that's a no-go in relationships. So.
Rather question, because when the first time that I asked my wife that question, what was the trigger? And she's looking at me like, huh? What? Nobody's ever asked me that before. I say, yeah, but I'm not trying to be those guys in the past because realize one thing, they're in the past for a reason. I don't want to be in the past. I want to be in the now. I want to be in the future, and I want us to grow old together. So if I don't understand you, then how can we make that happen? And she's like, yeah, still kind of perplexed from the first thing that I asked her. She was like, yeah, that makes sense. And then she started telling what was the trigger made her angry myself, put her or myself in that situation again. So
Right.
it's just been one constant growth after the other. So we constantly
Right.
milestones, and every time we reach a milestone, we'll sit down, we'll talk about that, and then we start to grow into something else. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
true lesson.
I'm a believer that's what relationships are for, right? So they're given to us for growth, whatever that is.
And to this day, we've never had out of all the years since 1994 that we've been together.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
Yep, long time. Another thing that I would like for you to walk us through, because I'm definitely paying a lot of attention to your profile, and I found this one of the most intriguing is when you talked about innovative leadership, and
hmm
can cultivate the mindset and not only
hmm
embrace but drive innovation and disruption. Please elaborate on that one.
Right, right. So I think there's a lot of overlap between what we're talking about. So when we talk about innovation and disruption, and we talk about disruptive innovation and so on and so forth, it is a disruption at the end of the day, right? So, and again, as I mentioned, there's so much disruption going on each and every level. So technology disruption, right? So that's what companies are dealing with. They're constantly being disrupted, what they invested in, the products they made, they're constantly being disrupted by other technologies, by other people who made the products that are cheaper, that are faster, that are better. So you should be able to prepare for that. So what's that? How does that look like? There's a lot of flexibility that you need to be able to have. So in terms of innovative leadership, it's really that flexibility and kind of in a sense, relinquishing control, right? So what it should be, that's a very important point. So is that, what is it that I can really control here? I can control, kind of my preparedness to switch gears at any point. Another very important one is that growth mindset. What is growth mindset? I'm always ready to learn. If I don't know something, I know that I will learn. So all those kind of elements of not being stagnant, right? So not being rigid in that regard. I'll always be able not to dismiss something only because you don't know it, right? So you don't know, nobody knows anything in this point. You're just willing to learn and charter your course. And the third one I wanted to mention, no, it just escaped my mind. I'm sorry. It was the third one that was important. I guess not that important since I cannot think of it.
It's all good.
hmm
It's all good. No, one of the things too, I was looking at.
Oh, sorry. I remember the failure, right? So embrace, not necessarily embracing the failure, but being prepared, like really kind of fiercely experimenting and expecting that not all of those experiments are going to um, result in success. In fact, most of them will fail. There is a mantra, especially in Silicon Valley, fail fast.
Hmm.
Um, uh, but I'm not necessarily agreeing with that, but allowing for possibility for a failure and understanding that it's not a failure, it's really a lesson.
Right.
So, and you actually you can extrapolate it into personal life as well. It does not necessarily need to be just within the corporate, but in the personal life as well. No matter what it is that's going on, it's almost like you cannot go wrong, right? So whether you turn left or you turn right, you will get experience, and that experience is a life lesson that actually makes you stronger. So the same in the corporate world. Yes, you can turn left or you can turn right, and some of those experiments they can fail, but it's not the failure itself. That's the end result. The end result is that you learn from that failure and you build on top of that, right? So you actually grow this way.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I totally agree with you on that. No doubt. No doubt. because we have to grow irregardless of what we do and how we do it. If we don't grow, then we're pretty much asking for failure. And I don't think anyone wants to ask for failure.
Yes, exactly. And that's how we kill innovation within the organization. That's how you kill innovation. If people are not allowed to experiment, if they're not actually allowed for a possibility that something won't work out, then they're not going to take risks. And then we hear so many stories in the past and the current. I'm sure we'll hear those stories in the future as well. When the companies fail because at some point, somehow, somewhere in their culture, they stopped allowing for kind of unwanted results, right?
I was looking also, I want to share something with you. I was also looking at your website and just want to share this with the audience so that they could get an idea of what some of the things are that are on your website. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I was looking at, first off, elevate your leadership, transform your business. Hi, baby. Go back in there with grandma, please. Go back. Thank you. So I'm really loving the first thing that I saw was elevate your leadership, transform your business. That is, to me, that is one of the most amazing things because that gives people an opportunity to understand pretty much what they're going to get themselves into when they're looking at your website. To me,
Hmm.
that's
Yeah. Hmm.
so. Please tell us more about like you have some upcoming events. Tell us more about your upcoming.
Right, right, exactly. So, the Silicon Valley Executive Academy is all about leadership, innovative leadership. We talked a little bit about that as well. The reason why I'm talking so much about the burnout and the harmony and all this, because it ties directly to motivation of people. So I think that there is a lot of offering out there about technology, how to make us more productive from a technology perspective. There's a lot of kind of management techniques, how you form the teams, how you manage teams and everything. But I think in the midst of all that, what really gets missing is how people feel, right? So how do you actually work in this motivated environment? So when I talk about burnout, the damage is actually very real from a burnout. So I just read a recent study, and they say there is between 10,000 and 30,000 um, dollars a year that companies lose per person if that person is not motivated. And a lot of that loss of motivation is really from a burnout. So we hear a lot about how the culture of the company puts so much pressure. I just read an article in Wall Street Journal yesterday about the culture in Bank of America and investment banking, how people overwork, right? So we put everything into our job, and we forget that there is actually a whole person behind that job. So the reason why I talk about the burnout so much to high achievers and top managers is that we are in the position to change this, right? We are in a position to change that environment for ourselves and trickle down that change going forward. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing. So people can be much more productive. People can be much more motivated when they align, right? Their job is aligned with their purpose. Their job is aligned with the harmony when they are allowed for that much more harmonic state of their jobs, when they are encouraged to explore interests outside of the job, when they're not under constant pressure to put so many hours in a day, because your contribution is rarely measured in hours, it's measured in value, right? And I think that high achievers, people in that in an executive capacity, they're in a position to change their lives. And what I noticed is that once you change your life and your relationship with the environment and with your own kind of interests, these changes trickle down. So once, for example, one of the techniques that we practice is gratitude, right? So once you actually learn how to be grateful and stay and be in that state of gratitude, the first thing you notice that everyone around you is becoming more grateful. So you're really swimming in gratitude. And this is a totally different approach, right? So it's not contradictory to a high achieving culture, high productivity culture of corporate. So we are in a position to change it. So that's kind of my big goal and mission.
And that is awesome. That is awesome that you even, have time to make those types of goals, that you're driven to make those types of goals. That is amazing. I love it. I love it. So overall, what is it that you would like people to get from your entire story?
Yeah, so I think if there is anything, first of all, that it is a practice. And the second one is that we are powerful, right? So we are in control. We can claim control for ourselves and we can create the environment that we like, that we love, that makes us live in harmony and happiness. We are in power.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And
Mhm.
please give us something motivational to take us out.
Well, this is motivational, isn't it? That for me, that's really motivational. Every time I realize that this is the greatest insight that that's very empowering, right? So that I create my external environment.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And other people can do the same for yourselves.
Exactly. Exactly.
You have to, must, especially if you're looking to advance in life, if you're looking to grow in life, you have to just make it happen. And it's possible. All over the world, it's possible. I mean, think about it. I'm in Texas right now. I'm originally from Chicago, and Miss Victoria Mensch is in Australia. It can happen all over the world. We are able to link up, even without coming face to face in person. We're still able to link up. And if we can make this type of progress happen between the two of us, the world can make the other types of progress that you need, that's desired for you. You can make it happen too. so,
Fantastic. Yes.
so
Let's
please
start the movement.
start. Let's get it going.
Yeah.
So
We
please,
can do it.
where we can, yes, we can do it. We can do it. Tell us where we can actually find you.
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. Most my main place is really LinkedIn. The website that you showed is a good place as well. If somebody wants to get in touch and learn about the events that we have, one of the bigger one that's coming up is a retreat in Bali, executive retreat called Elevate Beyond Success, where we go through these practices in the week, really accelerate from that burnout to harmony. And you can take a blueprint of practices and take back home with you and continue on this road.
Sounds good. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, this has definitely been a wonderful journey. I am so happy that you came on this show and was able to share so much valuable information. I am super happy about that. Thank you so much, Miss Victoria. I truly can't thank you enough because I really feel like that our people, our audiences are going to learn a lot from this podcast today. And if they don't, maybe they need to go back and watch it a few more times. And because
Yeah. Well, thank you, Yellow. It was a pleasure.
it was definitely a pleasure. I truly thank you, and I am definitely going to be following you on LinkedIn. I'm going to try and stay chimed in to see what other things you got going on because I'm loving this. I'm loving what I've learned from you so far, and I'm very happy that you were even willing to share the information. Thank you so, so much.
Fantastic. See you there.
Victoria, peace and blessings to you. You have a wonderful, wonderful day and many blessings and more success. Have
Thank you.
a great night. Bye bye.
Bye.